Great. Well, we'll get going then. Thank you, Victoria. And thank you to all of you coming today. I'm happy to be here to present this afternoon session on becoming a master of spotting fraud. And I usually begin the presentation with an introduction of who we are and who we regulate. Excuse me. So we're the Financial and Consumer Services Regulator, and we protect more than 800,000 New Brunswick financial consumers. So we regulate, and what I mean by regulate is we make sure that industries that I'm going to mention follow the rules, have all the right qualifications in order to offer products and services in New Brunswick. So some of those businesses or industries include collection agencies, door-to-door sellers, funeral providers, real estate agents, loan and trust companies, insurance companies, financial planners and investment advisors, payday lenders, credit unions, and more. So if you have a credit union account, a mortgage, insurance coverage for your car, or if you're involved in an investment or real estate transaction, then you're a consumer of financial services. So as the regulator, we have a variety of responsibilities. And this includes responding to consumer inquiries, consumer complaints. We conduct what's called compliance reviews to make sure the industries that we're responsible for are following New Brunswick's consumer protection laws. We investigate alleged violations of those laws. And we educate consumers and businesses about their rights and responsibilities. So on this last note, one way that we want to help protect consumers is to educate them on the warning signs of fraud. So, unfortunately, scammers often target newcomers who may be unfamiliar with our financial services. So, I want to talk to you about some of the more common scams that target newcomers specifically. Now, having said that, I want you to know that everyone's at risk of fraud, not just newcomers. And why does this happen? Well, a lot of the times, again, it can be because you may be unfamiliar with the laws in New Brunswick. And it also may just be that the scam artists are getting better and better at fooling us and tricking us into thinking that they're a real business. And people are often embarrassed that they've been tricked out of their money. So a lot of times, no one wants to talk about it. And frauds and scams come at you from all ways: on the phone, in a text message, at your door, in the mail, in an email, and even online. So it's very important to learn the warning signs. So this slide, I'm asking the groups, and you can ask your group for a show of hands if they've ever been a victim of fraud, or if they know of someone who has been a victim of fraud, even if it didn't happen to them. So you can raise your hands, and in the chat, you can just respond yes or no. And I'm just seeing the message in the chat now to pause between the sentences. So I'm hoping I'm going at a good pace now. But let me know if I'm not. Thank you for that. And I don't see any answers in the chat. So I'm hoping everyone can hear. You haven't heard from any other rooms, eh, Victoria? Like everyone can hear?
No, I haven't. Just room 141.
Okay. Should I give it another minute or?
Yeah, maybe. Oh, someone's typing now.
Yeah, I see room 141. But we're not hearing from any of the other rooms, eh?
No. Are any of the other rooms able to hear us? And type in the chat the answer to the question, please.
Oh, perfect. Slowing down. Excellent. I missed that in the chat, so. Okay, we can hear you. Perfect.
Okay.
I know it's always hard when we don't see anyone, so we just want to make sure everyone can hear properly. Excellent. So I'm hoping, some other classroom. Many of the students have received some kind of scam phone call or text message. Yes. And that was the purpose of this slide, was that even if you haven't been a victim, then I'm sure you or someone you know has received some sort of fraud message before. And as of 2023, so in this last year and a bit, New Brunswickers reported losing more than $8 million to frauds and scams. And what's really sad about that is that's just what's reported. And usually it's only about 5% of victims that actually report it. So we are expecting that many more people are victims and don't say anything. So it's very important to tell someone if you get a fraud message or phone call, or especially if you're a victim of a fraud, because knowing that information lets people like me and other government agencies share that message with others so that we can prevent others from being victims as well. So the first scam that I'm going to talk about today is one that's very popular at targeting newcomers because it has to do with immigration. And it's usually over the phone. So what happens in this particular scam is a consumer will receive a call on their phone, and they're often identified by name. And usually they claim to be from Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada, or the IRCC, and they advise the victim or the person they're calling that they have failed to complete or register certain immigration documents. And if the consumer does not pay the fee immediately, they could face deportation, loss of their passport, and citizenship. But rest assured, this is not a real person from the government calling you. It's a scam artist trying to trick you. The government always will write you a letter that will come in the mail. They will never call you or leave you a text message in this way. And I just noticed something in the chat.
Yeah, we do have a question.
How do we go about informing you about a potential scam over the phone? So I'm going to give you the numbers at the end to reach out to us. And you can always call and let us know or send us an email about any kind of scam that you potentially receive. So back to the immigration phone scam. The warning signs. This is how to protect yourself. The request usually must be acted on urgently. So they usually want you to do something right away. That's a warning sign that something is wrong with this call. Another warning sign is they don't want you to discuss it with anyone. So if someone acts like this with you on the phone, that's a big, what we call red flag, that it's probably a scam. Again, the IRCC doesn't ever contact clients over the phone, and they, especially not for collecting fines, they won't harass you, they won't say you're going to be deported. If you ever had to pay a fee, they would encourage you to go to a bank, okay, or something through channels that they would send you in a letter. And I also want to remind you that even if you get a letter and you have questions or you're not sure what it means, you should never just answer the letter or write them back without making sure it's real. And the best way to do that is to go to your own source. So your own paperwork, look up the IRCC yourself on their website. If you find the information and then contact them, it's much safer than answering something from a phone message, a text message, or even a letter that you're not sure where it came from. So it's always better to be safe instead of just answering something that comes to you. And I hope that that's clear to everyone, because that's a really big piece of this, is if you didn't ask for the information and you can't verify where it came from, then you should never give them personal information. That's true of the phone, text message, letters, any way they contact you. Another thing that the IRCC or any government agency will never encourage you to pay fees or request fees through prepaid credit cards or gift cards or private money transfers. We would consider those unusual methods of payment. And if they're asking you to do that, again, that's probably a scam. So another good thing to keep in mind. You also never want to trust your caller ID display. So just because there's a number that comes up, again, if you don't know it, you're better off to go and find the number yourself through their website, through your own paperwork, and confirm that it's them before you give any information. So another popular or common fraud among newcomers, again, typically over the phone, is the Canada Revenue Agency scam. This scam is very similar to the immigration one, where someone calls pretending they're from the CRA. And usually they'll say you owe money to the government. And if you don't pay it right away, you will be arrested. That's usually what the scam is. And another twist is they may send you a text message asking you to call them, and they'll give you a phone number. Again, this phone number is probably fake, and it's definitely not the Canada Revenue Agency. So they, again, if they call you, they're asking you for money, they're telling you that you could be arrested or deported. They want you to call back a number that they leave. Always remember that these are scams. That isn't the way that government agencies contact people. Sometimes you can also receive an email or a text message that says you're owed a money refund from the CRA. And this often happens during Canadian tax time, which is in the spring. So usually in April. So we see this scam more often at that time. And again, in Canada, we file our income tax every year. And if you're owed money through a refund, they will send you the information in a letter. They won't send you an email or a text message or a phone call. So anything like that is likely a fraud. Often there's a link included in the message, and if you click on that link, it may take you to a website that looks very much like the Canada Revenue Agency. But again, this is a fake website. And if you enter personal information into it, you may have given it to a scam artist. So I can't stress enough how important it is when you're contacted by any means, even if it is a letter, you should always go to the source. Don't click on any links. Don't answer phone numbers that are left in a message. And even if you get a letter that has a phone number to call back and you're not sure, go to your own sources. Find the information yourself. Make sure you're reaching the right department before you give them any information. And a reminder that the CRA will never ask for your passport information, your health card, or your driver's license. They won't demand immediate payment by e-transfer, cryptocurrency, gift cards, or credit cards. They'll never threaten you or leave you a voicemail that's threatening. They won't send you a link to a refund, and they won't send you text messages. So anything that comes like that, you know that it's a scam. So my next fraud is door-to-door sales scams. So something you may not know is that door-to-door sellers are licensed by FCNB. So they're licensed by the commission. And anyone coming to sell something at your door must carry their license if you ask to see it. And they're supposed to provide it to you. So if someone comes to your door trying to sell you a product or service, like water softener or a heat pump, or they want to pave your driveway or do snow removal or fix your roof, ask to see their license. It's one way to protect yourself. Then you know that FCNB has done a criminal record check on them before you let them into your home. And on the next slide, I'm going to show you what the license looks like. And again, I will share the information of how to reach us at the end. When you buy goods or services of more than $100 from a direct seller, and a direct seller is another way to say door-to-door seller, they must have you sign a contract. So anything over $100, you should have a contract. You should take your time to understand it and make sure you know what you're buying and what you're paying for. And you can even ask for a couple of days to review it. I also tell people, bring it to someone, maybe even take it to MCAF, someone that can help you interpret it. That's much safer than just agreeing to whatever they say. A lot of the times with newcomers, the language barrier makes them shy to say anything back. So definitely we want you to feel confident to say no. You want some time to review it. You want to have someone help you understand it, whatever the case may be. If you do sign a contract and the next day you have second thoughts, you have a 10-day cooling off period from the day you receive the contract to change your mind. If the seller gives you a difficult time about canceling the contract, then definitely give us a call and we will look into it. I want to remind you though that if you paid a deposit and it's within the 10 days, or they already installed something, they're obligated to remove it, but there could be some fees because they already installed it in your house. So the bottom line is you really need to understand the contract before you sign it. And if you have second thoughts within 10 days and you encounter problems with that company, definitely give us a call. If they're licensed, they should honor that 10-day return policy. But if they're a fraudster or a scam artist, you're probably never going to see them again, and it's very hard to find them. So I really want to remind everyone that the whole purpose of this presentation is about preventing fraud from happening. It's very difficult to get your money back after the fraud has happened. It's very hard to find these people and bring them to justice because they usually disappear right away. They often hide behind fake phone numbers and fake websites, and it's hard to locate them after the fact. So again, we really want you to have tools in place so you know what to do to prevent it from happening in the first place. So something to remember is there are salespeople who use high pressure tactics and can be aggressive in nature. It doesn't necessarily mean they're scam artists, but they may pressure you to buy something because they want to make a sale with you. They want to earn a profit. So consumers may find themselves in a situation where they purchase a product or they sign up for a service that they didn't really need or want. And this is why, if you know right after you sign up within that 10-day window, it's important to reach out to them, ask for your money back, ask to get out of the contract, and if you have problems, to reach out to us. Some common door-to-door scams that have been reported to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center include people pretending to get donations for charity, people offering an investment opportunity, or a service scam involving the sale or maintenance of some sort of appliance or service that they want to do at your home. For example, we have had one where the scam artist offered to check the person's home for mold, and then they give them a phony report that says that their house was full of mold, and they offer to fix the problem for thousands of dollars. So they'll try to trick you, and this is where you need to make sure they're a real business before you even let them in your home. And this slide shows what the license looks like. So this is a sample. It will have the logo, our name on it. It will have the seller's name. It should have their address. It should have the business they work for. And if, again, even if they present you with this and you have other questions, reach out to us and we can check for you to make sure that they're a legitimate business that have been registered with FCMB. So now I'm going to ask the group another question. So I'm hoping, I know I had a few that answered. So again, in your groups, if you can put an answer in the chat. This is to kind of see if everyone's understanding what I've said so far. So my question is, door-to-door sellers should have a license from FCMB to sell goods and services in New Brunswick. True or false? And I will wait for some answers. At some point, I'm going to have to bring some prizes to MCAF. And then when people answer, I could give them some prizes.
A good idea.
Yeah. I guess in that time that I'm waiting, I could put, again, I'm going to put it at the end, but I'll put it in the chat here too. You can always go to our website to learn more information. And our 866 number, 933 2222. 1-866-933-2222. So there's some information. Oh, I'm seeing true and true. Yay. Excellent. Very true. So I have provided, because I think it was Mathieu that asked, and I'll show it again at the end. Yes. So anyone coming to your door selling anything, a product or service, should have a license with FCMB. And again, for services over $100. Because I have had people ask me, what about people that sell Girl Guide cookies or, kids mowing lawns or, offering to a student offering to shovel your driveway. This is for businesses that are the age of majority, so 19 years and older. So students doing these type of things wouldn't fall under this type of legislation. Okay. So next one is employment scams. There are definitely job websites that are legitimate where people can post their resumes when they are looking for work. Now, employers search these websites, but so do scam artists. And they may pretend to be an employer willing to hire you. Oftentimes, the way these scams happen is they send an email with a job offer that's just too good to be true. In many cases, they say they're setting up a new location and they want you to be the office manager, for example. Then they tell you they need you to order and pay for office furniture or office equipment for the new location. So they send you a check in your name and they want you to deposit the check in your bank and then wire it to their quote unquote furniture provider. And they often give you an account number even as well to say, send it here. But this account number is not for a furniture provider and it's to the scam artist. So some warning signs about this type of scam is real employers in New Brunswick or Canada, for that matter, will never send you a job offer without wanting to interview you first. A real employer will also never deposit or ask you to deposit a check into your account, or ask you to transfer money or wire it to one place or another. That is not normal practice in Canada, New Brunswick, even North America even, okay? So again, a real employer, they're going to want to interview you, they're going to want to meet you, and they're not going to give you a check and say, go buy all these things, deposit the money back. That's just not how it would work, okay? So fraudsters can also create fake job postings for people who want to work and move to Canada. And sometimes they use the names of countries that already exist here. Usually they'll want you to complete various application forms. They may ask for personal and financial information that they can use later on for identity fraud. And almost immediately after they reach out to you, they'll congratulate you on getting the job. And they may even contact you claiming to help with the immigration process or offering to bring other family members over and get them jobs. They might even, again, pretend to be from the High Commission, Immigration Canada, like the IRCC. They'll often ask you for money for various reasons. They may say they can help get you your passport, your permits, your visas faster. And a lot of the times, victims send money to these fraudsters before they realize that the job doesn't exist. So to find legitimate job opportunities, you should first be looking at the Government of Canada Job Bank. You can visit the Government of Canada to look at the Immigrate to Canada page that has a lot of relevant information about submitting applications for travel, study, working, or immigrating to Canada. That's the place you should go to find real information, especially about that. Sadly, no one can promise faster immigration application processing times or guarantee your approval. And if you choose to pay for a service like this with help about immigration, say, for example, that you need to understand that whatever they're going to give you or whatever you're paying for, you want to understand exactly what you're getting for that money before you sign anything. If you're, say, using a company that helps find jobs or a hiring company, you should read reviews about those companies and contact their human resources department to confirm that they're even hiring. Because again, fraudsters sometimes use real companies' names in their fake job postings. And remember that in that scam, if you deposit a check from a fake business and they ask you to wire money to them, it often takes a few days before the bank learns that the check was a fake. So the money gets to them, the fraudster, before it can be stopped. So that's why it's very important to understand that if you're asked to do anything like that, it's definitely coming from a fraudster or a scam artist. And you want to trust legitimate ways to look for a job. And definitely research the companies. Next up is the grandparent scam or the emergency scam. And where we've seen this happen the most with newcomers has to do with people pretending that they have, say, your loved one in an ambulance and they're taking them to the hospital. And before that they'll treat them, they need personal information to do that. This again simply is not true in Canada. If someone's hurt and taken to the hospital, they will be treated without giving the personal information ahead of time. So if someone calls and tells you that they need information before they're going to get treated, that's simply not true. We've also heard of this fraud having things like people pretending to be grandkids or nieces or nephews that are in trouble, and they want either someone is calling saying they're with the police or that they've been arrested and you need to pay money to get them out of jail. Or it will be they'll pretend to be your, like I said, grandchild, niece, nephew, son, daughter, and they need help and they want you to send money to help them get out of, jail or a situation like that. And if your family member, you don't talk to them often or they're overseas and you hear, a voice that might sound like them and they know enough information about you, it may be easy to be fooled. So something that I've said in the past to people at this presentation is maybe think of a safe word that you can share with your family. And by safe word, I mean think of something that isn't related to your family at all. So there's no birthdays in it, there's no names, there's nothing that would relate back to you. So for me, maybe I would say pineapple. It doesn't have anything to do with me or my family, but all of my family knows the word. So if I get a call asking for personal information about one of them to help them, the first thing I can tell the caller is, do you know the family safe word? If it's a scam artist, they won't know it and they'll likely hang up. So that could be one way to help against that type of fraud. So next is unregistered or unlicensed activity. So again, this relates to our commission, whether you're getting a mortgage, buying insurance, making a purchase at your door, or investing for your future, the professionals you deal with may need to be licensed or registered with FCNB. Now, most of the people who work in these industries are fair and follow the rules. Licensing and registration just adds a layer of protection because FCNB will only register or license those that meet the requirements in our acts or our laws. Again, this may include us doing a criminal background check. We check for education requirements and other qualifications. So by you checking licensing and registration before you work with someone in one of these industries is an easy first step that you can take to protect yourself. And again, you can check licensing and registration by visiting our website that I put in the chat, and I'm going to put it up at the end again, fcmb.ca, or you can call our 1-866 number and speak to someone as well. So next up, I want to touch on rental scams. Oftentimes, that's the first thing you're doing when you move to New Brunswick is you're trying to find a place to live, and you need to be aware of online ads for housing rentals. Scams like this often involve fraudsters advertising properties that they don't own for rent, and it's often online, like Kijiji, Facebook Marketplace, etc. They sometimes use information and photos from actual real estate listings. And the fraudsters may ask for hundreds of dollars in cash to cover first month's rent and even a damage deposit after you answer the ad. So here are some red flags, so some warning signs to realize what rental scams are. 1, the monthly rent is often lower than similar places in the area. So if you're searching ads or you're searching online and all of the apartments are, say, $1,500 a month and this one is $800, that's a red flag. Because if it's a lot lower, then there might be something wrong with this rental opportunity. If there's no ability for you to see the property in person before they want a deposit. So if they want you to pay anything before you see the property, that's a red flag. If you're asked to leave a deposit without any formal rental agreement or lease in place. So again, they want you to pay something before you've signed a lease or a rental agreement. If they ask you to send money to someone that's outside the country, also a potential red flag. If they ask you to e-transfer a deposit or to meet at a location other than the property for rent. So sometimes, again, they want you to meet at a coffee shop or they want you to send money in an e-transfer. And these are all flags that something isn't right. If they do take you to a property and it has a for sale sign outside and they ask you to ignore that, again, they may be just showing you something to try to get you to believe that they own it, but it's actually a property for sale. If there are spelling errors and typos in the ads, so again, a lot of the times where there's language barriers, you might miss something in one of those. So this is something to watch for. And if there's pressure to act quickly. So we want you to be aware of the red flags of fraud. We don't want you to send money to someone you've never met or you've only met online. Always ask for a lease or a contract and take the time to read it and understand it before you sign it. Before you give any money or sign anything, insist on seeing the property in person. And if you're not in the province, ask someone you know locally to view the property for you. Another thing you can do is called a reverse image search. And you can do this in Google, and you can right click on an image and you can search it, and it will tell you if that image has been used on other sites. Sometimes scam artists take pictures from other sites and put them on theirs to make it look more real. If that's happening, then it's definitely a fraud. If you plan on renting in a new development, find out who the builder is to confirm that they own it. You want to know your rights as a tenant. Consult the tenant's rights on gnb.ca. So go to the Government of New Brunswick and search tenant rights. That will give you a lot of information about what your rights are as a renter. If you're looking at anything like a rent to own option, you want to seek legal advice before signing a contract. And when you're purchasing or negotiating things on sites like Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji, it's always what we call buyer beware. These sites aren't regulated. They're just people posting things they want to buy or sell. So it's hard to know if it's real or not. If you're going to use sites to look for legitimate agents, mortgage brokers, real estate agents, places like realtor.ca, or again, check with us to make sure that they're licensed before you deal with them. I've got 2 slides left because I know we're coming on to the end of the hour, but I should be able to wrap it up in about 5 more minutes because I know we started a little later. Is that okay, Victoria?
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect, great. So the last kind of scam I want to touch on is credit card and debit card scams. The best way to protect yourself is always guard your PIN number, your personal identification number that you got when you got the card. Keep it safe and don't share it with anyone. If someone calls you, texts you, emails you, claiming that your credit card has been compromised or something happened to your bank account, and they need your PIN number to stop the thief from making charges, do not share your PIN. This person is likely a scam artist. And if this happens, the best thing to do is hang up and call the number on the back of the card. That number will always get you to the company that gave you the card, whether it's your credit card company or the bank for your bank account. Call them, tell them what happened, and they can make sure if it's a fraud or not. That is the best way to protect yourself with credit and debit card scams. And again, I encourage you to check out our website. We have a link at the top called News and Alerts, and it always lists all kinds of information about frauds that we know about in New Brunswick and things that might help you make sure that you remember these tips that I've shared today. So I've put up the slide again with our website, our phone number, our email address, info@fcmb.ca. We again, oftentimes, if there's a fraud, especially in an industry that we don't regulate, we may not be able to help you directly, but we will at least try to find the right department to send you to if it doesn't have anything to do with an industry we're involved with. But we would much rather you reach out to us so that you tell somebody about it so that we can make sure we tell others across the province so that they can be protected as well. So I know I shared a lot of information today. I covered a lot of things. I hope that you found it informative, that you found it helpful, that I slowed down enough at the end. I apologize for going too fast at the beginning. It means a lot to me to come and visit your group to share this information. I think it's awful that fraudsters do take advantage of people coming to Canada and take advantage of the language barrier or the not knowing the customs and how things work. So the more that I can share that information to help you, the better I feel about it, to help make your transition to Canada much more pleasant. So again, I know I'm at the end. If there's any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. If you don't have any and you want to email the questions, you can do that too. But I'm just thrilled to have been able to talk to you today, and I hope that it's been helpful to you.
Thank you, Lisa. Does anybody have any questions? Don't think so. If not, then we can probably end the session. Thank you so much for presenting. It was really, really helpful. Very helpful and informative information, even for me. Yeah, well, thank you everybody for attending and have a great rest of your day.
Yes, you all too. I know we're coming back to talk more about FCMB Industries in another few weeks. So I look forward to seeing you, hopefully a lot of you again.
Okay, awesome. Okay,
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you,
bye-bye.
everyone.